Welcome back to the Young Voter. Most of the news this week has dealt with the 112th Congress, and Congress coming back into session this week with a Republican majority in the House and expanded Republican numbers in the Senate. So in the House, John Boehner became the Speaker, and he didn't cry too much during the swearing in of the new House, which was pretty surprising. Kudos to him. And there are 94 freshman congressmen, 13 new senators, only 9 new Democratic congressmen, So that means there are 85 new Republicans. Of course, Republicans only picked up 63 seats, but it's a big chunk of Republicans in the Senate, in both the Senate and the House. So they've scheduled a vote on health care repeal next week on Wednesday, January the 12th. There was a preliminary vote today with 4 Democrats voting with Republicans to repeal the health care law. So it's obviously pandering through their base because they're not going to be able to get it passed in the Senate. In the Senate, Joe Manchin, the senator from West Virginia, is co-sponsoring a bill to get rid of certain provisions of the health care law. And he's co-sponsoring it over the Republican, and he's trying to pass that to the Senate. Now, presumably that has a greater chance of success than a wholesale repeal of the law. But again, just Joe Manchin showing his true colors. He is not a Democrat. He's a conservative. He's basically just a Republican. He's a West Virginia Democrat, which is just as good as a Republican. There's really very little difference, very little substantive difference between Governor Joe Manchin and, say, John Cornyn. They're basically the same person. So that's wonderful. The Republicans are going to be wasting their time trying to basically undo everything Obama's done in the past couple of years. Have at it. It's fun for everyone. Of course, it's disastrous for the country, but they're buffoons. They're clowns. It's great watching them. They're ridiculous. And what's really funny is they've laid all these traps for themselves, really, going in to this new Congress. Because there are all these inflated expectations about Republicans running the House very constitutionally. The Constitution was read yesterday, and of course, there was a heckler who interrupted the reading of the Constitution, saying that Obama wasn't eligible to be president. They had to be kicked out of the House. 2 Republican congressmen were not sworn in, were not present at the swearing in, and then took votes. So not being congressmen, Pete Sessions of Texas and Patrick Murphy of Pennsylvania, they weren't sworn in as congressmen, so they weren't congressmen technically, and then they violated the Constitution by voting in several congressional and civil bills, procedural motions. Pete Sessions actually presided as chairman of the Rules Committee over a hearing when he was not really a congressman. They, of course, defend themselves by saying, oh, well, we watched it on TV while we were hosting a fundraiser in the Capitol Visitor Center, and we raised our hands. And were sworn in, I guess, over the airwaves. Yeah, nice try. Of course, it's also illegal for them to use official venues, for congressmen to use official venues to host fundraisers. Now, of course, they're probably going to argue, well, we weren't sworn in, so then we weren't breaking any rules. Yeah, but I thought you said that you were being sworn in over the TV. So if you were sworn in over the TV, then you were a congressman, and then you were breaking ethics rules and law after you were sworn in virtually. But, they make no sense. They're clowns, of course. They're funny. They're really funny. They're going to do all this crazy stuff in the next 2 years. I think it's going to be really enjoyable and entertaining. Of course, they're not going to do anything better for the good of the country because nothing's going to get passed. Thank God nothing of what they want to do is going to get passed because everything they do is disastrous. They're clowns. They don't know what they're talking about. They have no idea, what they're saying. They have no concept of anything. There's reason on one side, and then the Republicans are on the complete opposite side of any sort of reason. Just listen to these people and actually try to follow their arguments committing to reason. You can't, Their arguments have no reason in them, And of course, there are many battles coming up. The budget battle, where the Republicans are going to want to slash things right and left. They said that they wanted to cut $100 billion dollars from the budget. Now they said it's more realistic, only to cut maybe 50 to 60 billion. Great, backpedal, backpedal. Okay, because giving excuses that the fiscal year will already be half over, blah 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 blah. Nothing can be cut now. Federal spending, defense spending can't be cut. Any sort of senior veterans benefits, they can't be cut. So now we just have to cut, quote, all discretionary domestic spending. Okay, so give me a program. Earmarks? Okay, we'll cut earmarks. That's, not even 1% of the federal budget. Good luck with it. Get back to me when you have an answer, Republicans. Of course, the debt ceiling expansion, which is wonderful. Will it pass? Okay, the debt ceiling is the amount of debt that the government can hold, the national debt. If the national debt exceeds the debt ceiling and the debt ceiling isn't raised, the United States government goes into default. Okay, causing a worldwide depression. Okay, the collapse of the financial markets, the destruction of the American dollar, and basically the destruction of the world economy. And of course, the Republicans are against raising the debt ceiling. Rand Paul of Kentucky is morally opposed to it, and Rand Paul of Kentucky, being one senator, could put a hold on this bill, unless, of course, the filibuster rules are changed, which could be something that the Democrats are trying to toy with, trying to get this filibuster changed. Of course, though, that wouldn't eliminate holds. It would just not make them secret anyway. You'd know who would be holding it. Rand Paul could put a hold on this, and the U.S. government would go into default. So Rand Paul, one person, can basically cause the collapse of the world economy. Good job, Rand Paul. I hope you stick to your guns. Finally, another interesting person in Congress, Democratic senator from the great state of Nebraska, Ben Nelson. Oh yeah, a Democrat, just like Joe Manchin. So apparently, according to an independent research firm, he votes the Democrats only 54% of the time on, quote, party purity votes, which are votes in which a majority of Democrats vote one way and a majority of Republicans vote another way. So he's basically he's not a Republican or a Democrat, according to this. But all the most important things, he votes against the Democrats, and then procedurally he votes with the Democrats. That's great. Good job, Ben Nelson. Good job. Of course, the big story is whether he'll be reelected. I mean, he's pushing this. Oh, I'm only 54% of the time with Democrats because I want to get reelected in the great state of Nebraska, which is really funny because the polls show him dead in the water. There's a poll out saying that one of the declared challengers to Ben Nelson is getting 60% of the vote. Ben Nelson's getting 35%, 38% of the vote or something. Ben Nelson, you're toast, okay? You're going to be 2012's Blanche Lincoln. Okay, Blanche Lincoln was in no poll in the lead against any Republican challenger, okay? John Bozeman crushed her, okay? And she got close to one of the lowest re-election numbers for an incumbent. Okay, she got 37% of the vote. The lowest was 35% back in the 30s. I would project that Ben Nelson is going to be defeated. I think we'll see. Let me know what you think, but I don't think Ben Nelson's going to survive. Okay, and of course it's Ben Nelson. I mean, come on, he voted against everything. That basically he always just votes against everything the president or Democrats in Congress want, unless he gets some kickbacks. Just in the healthcare debate, he had to get some federal funding, increased federal funding for Nebraska in order to vote with the Democrats. That didn't play too well in Nebraska. Yeah, I didn't think so. So who knows? Maybe Ben Nelson will be primary, but Ben Nelson's toast. So next, somebody I love, contrary to Ben Nelson, who's a buffoon, I love Kirsten Gillibrand. I think I have a crush on Kirsten Gillibrand. She is, of course, the junior senator from New York who was instrumental in passing the 9/11 First Responders Bill, really pushing that. She was on The Daily Show, really the first time in the spotlight on the national stage. Keep an eye on her because she was very commanding. She was charming. In her appearance with Jon Stewart, she was very, very charming. And she's very young. She's 44. And she's probably going to be in the Senate for a while. Of course, she replaced Hillary Clinton, won in 2010 her special election to fill the rest of Clinton's term. And she won by a pretty convincing margin, 61 to 35, 62-35, something like that. So I think she's pretty much a shoo-in in 2012. So we'll be seeing a lot more of Kirsten Gillibrand, and keep an eye on her. She's a great senator. a great woman from the state of New York. And finally, something that should make progressives and any sort of real Democrat shiver, and of course tremble in their boots when they hear it. William Daley, appointed White House Chief of Staff. Of course, he was a former executive at J.P. Morgan, and he's a former lobbyist. Yay, he is a fat cat and a lobbyist. And that makes things so much better, doesn't it? William Daley, of course, from the Chicago political machine. His brother, the mayor of Chicago, who is retiring after 21 years at the helm. His father was also the mayor of Chicago, William Daley, who was also in the Clinton administration. William Daley, the great corporatist, who, of course, said healthcare reform was a far leftist conspiracy, basically, and that financial regulation was completely overdone. He also thinks there are too many regulations in the banks and the financial industry. Great job, William Daley. I hope you are a great corporate lobbyist and sponsor for President Obama so that he gets reelected just like Jimmy Carter in 1980, right? Oh no, I forgot. Jimmy Carter probably got one of the lowest rates of return, what am I talking about? One of the lowest re-election numbers, at least he polled awfully in his re-election vote. He got 40% of the vote in 1980, okay? If Obama listens to everything Daley has to say, I'm not arguing that Obama will. If he does, though, he's toast, okay? He's going to be a corporate, rug. I mean, the corporation's going to walk right over him, okay? So, it's interesting, William Daley, apparently, though, everybody's saying, even Howard Dean, I'm surprised, said he's a good person, he'll listen to everyone, and maybe he will. But his biography is not very reassuring. Maybe he will listen to everyone and give the president a greater range of views, as opposed to Rahm Emanuel, who's, establishment incarnate, who, of course, made fun of the left and made fun of basically anyone who didn't agree with him and only gave the president access, or gave people access to the president who completely agreed with his corporate views. So perhaps William Daley is more open-minded, and he has his own views, but he'll temper them with the views of others. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see, and I hope so. I hope that will be the case. I mean, I hope Howard Dean is right. I hope this is not another disaster for the Obama administration, because 2012 is shaping up to being already a very interesting year. 2011, the Republicans are already making a fool of themselves, so we should be taking advantage of this, not stumbling ourselves. All right? So we'll see what happens. Hopefully I'll have some good news to report next week. Hopefully William Daley won't have just, given Obama and the entire White House staff office, $20 million checks from J.P. Morgan, where he worked. Hopefully not. We'll see what happens next week. Thank you again for listening to The Young Voter.